Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pepaw Knows Best. I'm Pepaw, and welcome to the show. Today. I want to talk about why socialism doesn't work and why it has never worked and never will work. And it's really pretty simple. It's not difficult at all. The reason socialism has never worked is because there is no respect for personal property. Plain and simple. Socialists like communists think everybody's property belongs to everybody. And if you own a business, but you can't control that business the way you want to, way you need to control it to operate it where it's profitable, it's not your business. They have no respect for your personal property, so you can't operate it like that. And when there's no profit motive, if what you create isn't yours and you know that it can be taken away at any time, why are you going to create it? The best way to understand economics is to understand human behavior. Now, this is something that I learned from Thomas Sowell. These economists, they try to make themselves a whole lot more important than what they actually are by coming up with all these phrases, these formulas, these terms to make it really sound complicated, but it's not. It's just as simple as understanding human behavior. And if you make something easier, you get more of it. If you make it more difficult, you get less of it. It's pretty much that simple. And whenever somebody in a socialist society, for instance, the reason why they never work is because the people who live there know that their stuff can be taken at any time, and therefore they're not going to create it. And plus, you have all these freeloaders who don't want to do their share. Now, these things like even the Jews, they had something called I forget what it was called. Um, my God, I wish I could remember that. But anyhow, it's like a commune where everybody lives there. Everybody shares equally in everything. Everything is produced. Well, the problem is you had some freeloaders. You didn't want to produce anything, and that's the way social economies work. You have the freeloaders who don't want to produce anything. Being leeches off the people who produce everything, and the people that produce everything aren't going to keep producing for the people who do nothing. There's still a sense in this world among all peoples that you need to work for what you get, and you shouldn't just expect that it be given to you. And that's the whole premise of socialist economies is that we'll equalize everything. We'll level the playing. Well, they're not talking about level the playing field. They're talking about just stealing from one person and giving it to another. And then during this whole process, you still have two tiers of people. You have the people way up here who work in that socialist government, and all these people down here who don't work in that socialist government. The people up top get taken care of. They make sure they're taken care of. They live like kings, all of them. But the people down low who don't have anything because nothing's being produced, food's not being produced, food's not being sold, it doesn't matter. The people at the bottom are the ones who suffer. So everybody suffers, and everybody suffers to a much greater degree than anybody suffers in a capitalist economy. And the reason a capitalist economy works, initially that was supposed to be a negative term, capitalist. Well, what it is just a free economy where people are just free to go out and make their own economic decisions. They don't need some government bureaucrat telling them what they need to buy or what they need to spend their money on. Each person alive knows what they need and what they need to get what they need, what to trade for. Some people just have to trade. Some people they have to trade money. Some people just trade work or, whatever the case may be. But since all of that is destroyed in a socialist economy, it's never going to get built back up. You know, there's always a thumb on everybody holding them down. And these people up the top, these morons who keep talking about how wonderful these socialist economies are, stealing the means of production, they're just idiots. They're just idiots. I hate to use that word. Here at Pepaw knows best, but they're just idiots. It won't work. It doesn't matter. You know, C.S. Lewis once had a quote that, and it's good. So I'm going to have to kind of paraphrase it. Robber barons will, people who torment you for your own good will torment you without end because they do so because of their conscience. These people believe so much in what they do, they don't give a rat's ass about the consequences or the results. All they care about are their intentions and power. And if they can take power and try to make everybody think that we're all for the little guy, well, they stay in power long enough, everybody will be the little guy. An effective economy requires wealthy people, it requires the working class, wealthy people in the working class. Anybody who's not working is not really contributing much. So wealthy people, working class, wealthy people provide the capital and the money for business to operate, to be built, to loan money to place it to people who want to build companies, to invest in companies. And then the working class works and makes things happen. And these businesses, all these businesses that these business owners own, these don't belong to the employees. They're not employee property unless it's set up that way. These businesses belong to the owners, and the owners have to operate these businesses in such a way that they can be profitable. They can stay in business. There's no fairyland system where employers are like Mondami says, he wants to have a store that sells 30% lower than any other store in the city. I guarantee you that store's going to go broke. Just give it time. Just like all these other people who've tried this kind of thing, they're going to go broke because there's no profit motive. You got to have a profit motive. You got to have a motivation. It doesn't necessarily have to be a profit, but it's got to be a motivation. And for most people, it's profit. When you go to work, you don't go to work just to give your work to the employer, work for nothing. The employers are the same way. They got to make a profit. That business doesn't just exist to hire employees. The employer's got to make money. So it's a thing where everybody contributes. It works. People make a lot of money. Some people don't make much money. Some people make very little money. But the people who have no money or make very little money, they're not in that situation because somebody else makes a lot of money. It's just that simple. There's always people going through life wanting to blame all their problems on somebody else and saying, well, he has all this money, so I should get some of it. Well, no, you shouldn't. You have no right to it. It's his money, his property. You have no right to it. Now, if you got a job and you're working for him, you accepted willingly. Nobody held a gun to your head to take that job. Now you have the job, you do the job that he needs done, and you'll get paid. You don't do the job, you won't get paid. You'll get fired. So that's how it works. So socialism in a nutshell will not work because there's no profit motive, there's no property rights. You got to have both of those in order to have a successful society. Russia tried it, China's tried it, they're liberating their economy more than what they were years and years ago. But eventually reality sets in for most people. But these loons that think you can just have a socialist economy, and they try to butter it up and say, "Oh, we're not socialists, we're democratic socialists." Well, there's no damn difference. There's no difference. A socialist is a socialist. It doesn't matter what words you put before it. They seem to think that they can. This is one thing that leftists like to do. They like to control the language, and they think all they got to do is just change the word, and it changes what it is, or add a word to it. Well, it doesn't. Socialism is socialism, where you put word Democrat in front of it or communist in front of it. It's all the same thing. It's all freedom robbing tyranny and property robbing tyranny that helps nobody. It's just a feel good, jealous type of economic system. People believe in it because they're jealous of others who have a lot more than they do. And I've never been jealous. I may have been when I was little, I don't know. But I can tell you I'm not now. If somebody has a lot more than I do, I'm happy for them. I'm happy to see people be able to hand down their wealth to their children so that their children don't have to struggle. The whole purpose of inheritance tax is to prevent people from handing down wealth out of jealousy because somebody's going to start out with a leg up. Well, who cares? I guess that's going to be it.